My name is Dr. Tom Rofrano from the Natural Medicine Clinic in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to shrink thyroid nodules in 2 weeks. And this is a follow-up to an earlier video I did a couple of months ago on a patient, a very important patient, a VIP, who I saw, who happened to be my wife. She woke up one morning with this huge nodule in her neck. She could see it in the mirror. So she was really understandably upset about this. You can refer to this video. It's definitely a great story on if you go on our YouTube channel in early December 2017, you'll see it. So we talk about it at length, and I wanted to do a follow-up video because we've gotten so many questions, so many emails, so many comments on YouTube and questions. So we just don't have the time to answer them all individually. So I thought I would do this video to answer some of the common questions and clarify some things. So over the last 30 years, more than 30 years now, I've been practicing, and I've seen over 100,000 patient visits. One of the most common things patients come in with are thyroid conditions, mostly hypothyroid, a lot of Hashimoto's, and thyroid nodules are very common. So there's a specific protocol that we use. I developed a 7-step protocol called Functional and Free, where we determine the underlying root cause of someone's health condition and then provide long-term permanent solutions. And one part of this 7-step process is a diet, a proprietary diet I call the FreeDiet. And the FreeDiet is a diet that's free of the most common allergens, foods that are most responsible for inflammation, pain, digestive, and other chronic health conditions. So when we went over that in an earlier video, and I'll recap that today and then clarify some things that a lot of people had questions on. So one of the reasons, as far as why do we use this, so there are basic, you have to understand there's some basic underlying causes for things like thyroid nodules and really almost all chronic health conditions. So it comes down to physical, chemical, and mental stress. So as far as the chemical stress component, which we're going to focus on today, that would be things like nutritional deficiencies or toxins or pathogens, bacteria, viruses, parasites, and yeast. And I have to tell you, almost everyone, almost all of my female patients that come in, and some male patients have chronic yeast overgrowth, and this can really wreak havoc on your immune system and your entire body. So basically, as far as some of the common questions people had, so I'll first give it a recap of phase 1 of the FreeDiet, which you can, we'll put a link here that you can go on and download a complimentary copy of that. So phase 1 is the most important part, because that's where we're eliminating those foods most commonly responsible for inflammation and a lot of these, and inflammation is the underlying cause of, say, thyroid nodules and a lot of other health issues. So if you're in phase 1, where the diet is free of, for instance, not just gluten, but it's free of gluten, grains, corn, dairy, soy, legumes, eggs, and but basically 10 classes of foods it's free of. And people will say, well, what can I eat? Well, when you download the copy, like I said, you'll show in detail, but just to summarize it, and one of the common questions, well, where do I start? So where you start is, it's very simple. So lunch and dinner is very easy. It's just protein with plenty of vegetables, salad, plenty of healthy fats, olive oil, avocados. And breakfast is even easier. We usually recommend a smoothie for breakfast because the phase 1 is free of, like I said, gluten, grains. Eggs is one of them. So you're not really able to eat these breakfast foods. So a smoothie is a great option. And then we have a specific recipe. And if you refer to another video I have on our YouTube channel, it's like 3-minute super smoothie recipe. So that's a smoothie that's high in protein, essential fats, fiber, and fruits and vegetables. So it's a great way to really start your day, very nourishing and very cleansing. So that's basically phase one in a 2-minute summary, and the sheet outlines the hundreds of different foods you're allowed and foods to avoid. So and then a common question is, well, what about phase 2 and 3? Well, phase 2. So how long do you stay in phase 1 is another. So if you've been doing this, and someone here, I got an email question. She's been following phase 1, and she already noticed a 50% reduction in her thyroid nodule. So what about phase 2 and 3? So if you're getting great results and you're seeing improvement, I would say you want to stay in phase 1 until that time where you're at a point where a lot of your chronic health issues are cleared up. And now with Dawn, what we did, she did an ultrasound initially, and her nodule was over 2 centimeters, and then she noticed within 2 weeks that it wasn't visible at all anymore. This is 2 weeks of being on the free diet. And then at 7 weeks, she was still in phase 1. We did another ultrasound, referred her out for another ultrasound, and then it had shrunk by over 50%. So it went from 2.1 centimeters to 1 centimeter, and that was in 7 weeks. And all the other nodules she had all shrunk dramatically as well. So basically, you want to, if it's working really well for you, you want to stay in phase 1. And it's important to know you should be with a doctor. You should have follow-ups. You should have lab work, ultrasounds. If you're local and want my help with it, feel free to reach out. Or we even have patients in other parts of the country, or even out of the United States, that we do phone and Skype consultations with. But anyway, you definitely need to be under, I highly recommend being under a doctor's care for this, and preferably someone who is holistically minded, does functional medicine, nutrition, so that they can kind of help you in these areas. So phase 2, getting into phase 2, this question, getting back to, that's when you start adding foods back one at a time every few days to see if you have any reactions. And we start with the foods that are least problematic. So I'll give you an example. Like, there's different categories of proteins, vegetable, in what you'll see in the free diet that you receive, you'll see the different categories. So for instance, just to give an example, in phase 2, we bring back eggs, and you see if there's a reaction. Some people might have no reaction whatsoever, and others, it's typically either sinuses, digestive issues, brain fog, fatigue, sometimes itchy skin. And that's all listed in phase 2 as well, with different symptoms to look for. So those are common reactions that you would get. And then there's a number of other foods we add back, one at a time in the second phase. And this way you can figure out, say, what foods might be causing inflammation or your health issues and which aren't. And then that takes, typically about a month to get through every 3 days. So at the end of that period, you have a whole lot of other foods you can eat. And then in phase 3, we go to the more challenging foods, the more problematic foods. Like, if you're so inclined, you can bring back in grains, say like rice, for instance, quinoa and other types of grains. I mean, the last one, or the most problematic, the last you'd bring back would be things like gluten, glutinous grains, but most people, most everyone that we deal with, most of our patients can't handle gluten at all. We do a lot of testing and they're sensitive to gluten, so I don't really recommend that for most everybody. I really just don't recommend that at all, unless you know, someone's the exception. It's certainly possible. But anyway, that's kind of the basic rundown, and we will be getting a more complete resource on how to go through this very easily, phase 1, 2, and 3. You know, we're getting resources together, you know, getting a book going, and we'll have a group coaching program going to help you along the way. But other, just some other questions people ask about supplements as well. So the basic, so that really depends on testing as well, but the basic guidelines, the basic foundational are, we have our natural medicine formulas line of supplements that are free of all the common allergens and are pharmaceutical grade. So the basic foundation is the multivitamin, fish oil, magnesium, vitamin D, and probiotics. So that's a foundational basic 5, and then we have extra ones depending on your needs. Some might have adrenal fatigue, adrenal issues. A lot of people, a lot of women are low in iron, B12. And again, adrenal support. So these are all extra things beyond the basic 5. And then iodine is a big question. Do you take it or not? So iodine, so it's one of those things that can be really problematic, taking iodine if you have nodules and thyroid issues, or it can be really helpful. So how do you know? Well, there's a specific iodine test, a urine test. It's a 24-hour urine test that can be done with a challenge. We usually do it with before and after a iodine load. So that's what I find is the most accurate way to determine. And with Dawn, for instance, my wife, she was very low in iodine and supplemented her with rather high doses of iodine. And in her case, she needed it. And as you can see, after 7 weeks, her nodule shrunk by over 50%. So obviously, certainly wasn't, you know, hurting like everywhere. You know, all these places you read online, and it's like iodine's like the devil if you have thyroid issues. Well, it's not necessarily the case. But you don't just go out and run and buy iodine because you are assuming you need it. You should really be specific. That's why I suggest that you be under a doctor's care for this. And then, oh yeah, and another. So one woman was asking, you know, she's hyperthyroid and has nodules, and she's taking this medication, and now she's becoming low thyroid. Well, and her doctors really aren't doing anything about it. So yeah, in answer to that, you really want to be, again, be under the guidance. If the doctors you're with aren't really open and receptive to your needs, then really seek out someone who's more does more of a functional medicine, a nutritional or holistic approach near you that can really help you, guide you in that way. And then one last thing, right? Yeah. A woman from the Philippines was asking, you know, rice is a void on FreeDiet. So what are we going to do? Is there a substitution? Well, and rice, the reason why we avoid that, well, grains can be pro-inflammatory, and rice in particular is very high in arsenic. Most all rice they found is very high in arsenic, so that's very toxic. So you want to, that's why you avoid that. So something called, one option is cauliflower rice. And I don't know, it's widely available in the US. I'm not sure about other countries, but it tastes like rice, and it's made from cauliflower. So that's, you buy it in the frozen food section. So that's a good option there. But other than that, so that just covered some of the questions. And if you have any others, just feel free to comment. Comment below. If you can also every week typically on Fridays I do a Facebook Live, so you can like us there, and this way you'll get noticed when we're doing the Facebook Live, and you can ask questions while I'm even doing this. Also, if you like this video, click like or a thumbs up below. Share it for someone you know who you think may benefit from it. Feel free to download the copy of the FreeDiet, and definitely look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks very much for joining me today. Take care.